Good evening, good evening, good evening, everybody. Lumberjack Landlord here to hang out with you. Let's talk some real estate. Absolutely amazing event last night that we did on how to bulletproof your portfolio. Thank you for all you guys who attended. It was a blast. We had a really good time. Lots of fun there. We didn't sell anything, but we sold out. We were fully occupied. We had 100 people in. Went 2.5 hours. It was a great session. Lots of new names and new faces, hopefully that show up tonight for the live stream. But it was a really good time. You know, one of the things I think we need to be all really cognizant of in this market is making sure that we've bulletproofed our portfolio to the best of our abilities, which means that we're not really held susceptible to as the market shifts in any one way, shape, or form, that we're not really going to be, crushed in that regard. And we make sure we still collect as many rents as we possibly can, and putting ourselves in a good spot to not only when you buy an asset, the most important thing is being able to keep it. So Eddie B. Trucking, good to see you. Welcome to the channel. Thanks for coming and hanging out. Wealth Building Journey, All Nighter Hider, good to see you. Laura San Diego, great to see you guys. So thanks, guys, for jumping in and attending. Sorry I was a little bit late this evening. It's hockey season. But hey, Nitin, good to see you. Loved the webinar yesterday. Thank you very much, Nitin. I appreciate that. It was a really good time. Love doing events like that. They're expensive. I'll just let you know, they're expensive. To put those things together and presentation and, the marketing that we do I only market it really around events. But they're expensive to put on. So I really just most importantly want to make sure you guys get value out of it. That's my biggest first and foremost concern. We have one more event left in that series, which is going to be, I think it's a couple weeks from Wednesday, I believe it is, this last Wednesday or yesterday. Sorry, a couple weeks from them. Yeah, it's going to be, it's, like I said, 2 more weeks. That's the last one in that series. That we're going to look at doing in the next series. But yeah, lots doing. I'll finally be at the project house tomorrow, making good progress. We're ahead on the budget. Things are going really well there. I decided to do some different things there, like we're going to add a bathroom. I'm waiting on the final number from the plumber, but I have it from the framing and everything like that. Really not too concerned about the framing number. It's inconsequential. Like literally, I think I got him to $100. He's like, yeah, we can frame that out super fast. And I was like, yeah, 2 guys, like maybe an hour. And he's like, yeah, probably, maybe a little bit longer than that. But we got the framing done super cheap for the bathroom. But then we're going to have to we'll bring an outlet in there, but we're going to have to do a little bit more electrical work, which is fine. Cause we'll have to get a new line in there for the washer. For the dryer. But yeah, excited to do that. Moving the laundry there. I actually had that in the budget. I think I had that in a line item where I actually had it marked as part of our surplus. And so, to add that stuff might be a couple of $1,000, but again, the big thing, guys, we're ahead. We're way ahead. And even better, the best news that I have to share with you before I jump into the topic for the night. Best news I had to share with you is that the latest 2 comps, there were 2 deals that actually closed. They were under contract, but there were 2 deals that actually closed. And the 2 deals that actually closed, we were expecting a 308 ARV, which is, basically essentially what market price is. We were expecting 308. The 2 properties that just closed, not went under, they just closed. One of them closed for 340 and the other one closed for 350. That ARV was accurate. I ran all the numbers. I looked at all the comps. I looked at everything that had sold. 308 was the number. These other properties, they're not going to be nearly as nice as what this is. None of them had like brand new kitchens. Some of them had new flooring. The yard space was about the same size. So as we look at that community project deal, it's looking like we're going to be to the upside. Now, obviously we're in October. Who knows what November and December hold? But it's always encouraging seeing things in the price range that you're trying to sell in and seeing them sell for well over what your expectation is. So the good news is, even if we have to give 10% of it back, believe it or not, even if we have to give 10% back, we're still making more than the 308 we thought we were going to make. So like I said, certainly you make your money when you buy, but as we continue to improve the project, that's going to be what really the differentiator is. So I say all that to say this is now we are in 64 days on market with my single family house. In all honesty, something I expected would fly off the market very, very quickly. Sorry, there's a fly and I want to make sure I get him. Did I get him? I think I got him. So the problem that you have is that, again, we're looking at everything and 64 days on market. Oh, crap. What do I do? 64 days on market. So we did a CMA, which is basically a market analysis. We look at all the numbers. The broker looks at all the numbers. He puts together a full-on CMA. It's a great report. They're 10 or 12 pages long. Here's what's sold. Here's what's on the market. Excuse me. Here's what rates are. Here's where that puts your payment. Like all of these things, right? I know. I got big hands. I do. Look how big they are. Yeah, I got big hands. What they say about big hands? Big gloves. Yeah, bummer. I'm 64 days in. CMA came back. Like I said, this is that market analysis. And it's based on what's on the market. It's based on what's sold. It shows all of those numbers and prices. And so the challenge is, just honest to God. The challenge is that we're likely in a bad spot. It's just the way it goes. We're likely in a bad spot. We were on at 450. We had one offer come in at 300. Don't do that. Don't do a $300,000 offer on a 450. Like, we didn't even respond. Then they came back at 350. We didn't respond. Then they came back at 400. And we told them, guys, we're not responding. Like, this isn't a 10% discount house. And so they then came back with a boatload of stipulations at 425. So we counted the 425. We said 435. We gave them the benefit of the doubt. And they walked away because they had a book of stipulations, and we're just like, listen, we'll drop the price, but we're not going to give in all these stipulations. And these stipulations were insane. It was like, approval to put to make it a duplex. If the thing could have been made a duplex, I'd have already made it a duplex. So I'm not going to say, like, that agent and that buyer were idiots. Plain and simple, they're complete morons. Now, at the end of the day, I still don't really value their offer because it was based on absurdity. It was based on no clue. It was based on lack of experience. And guess what? I then found out that this same moron had made an offer on one of my other properties that he lost. So this guy is just an idiot. There's no two ways around it. I had the perfect building that was for him and what he wanted to do for a business. So the guy's never going to buy anything. He's going to watch all of his stuff disappear. He's going to watch his funding disappear, his SBA loan disappear. All that stuff's going to disappear because he's being an unrealistic idiot, and he doesn't have a good enough broker to say, hey, you're being an unrealistic idiot. So at the end of the day, an offer at 425 with all the stipulations that he had, we still couldn't accept it. It was all the stipulations. So it was like, hey, we'll show him, we'll come down $15,000 in price, but we can't work around all your stipulations. So from that perspective, I don't look at that as a real offer because we were never going to get there. We can't. I can't wait 3 months to see if he can get a bakery approved in a semi-residential area. I can't wait 3 months to see if they're going to approve a variance for him to be able to make it a duplex. I can't wait that time. So that's just unrealistic. So based on that level of reality, it was just like, hey, it's fine. Like we're not going to go to 4.25 and with all the stipulations. Would we have done 4.25 with none of the stipulations? Yeah, of course. But we were trying to have a conversation, and theirs was always, hey, well, we want this, that, and the other. Like, you should have seen it when the number of the number of stipulations that they had in that contract. They had 9 different things. I gave into 7 of them. 7 of them where I was like, I'm fine with that. I can live with that. 2 things we just couldn't. One of them was that. One of them was the, ability to convert to a duplex. And the second thing was ability to run a business there and go through all the approvals to get that. That's unrealistic. And the likelihood that that deal would fall apart is very high. So I say all that to say what we've done, what we did after because that whole process took about 45 to 50 days. Well, it took a couple of weeks to basically get that guy in the process. And then we spent, so call it 2 weeks. And then we spent kind of like 3 or 4 weeks kind of going back and forth of offers and pricing and stipulations, and my having to reach out to attorneys and code guys. And honestly, like it was a hairy deal at best. So where that put us now is, okay, we price reduce. So we price reduced down to 425. That's what we did. We did a price reduction down to 425. And we've gotten more activity. We've seen more activity. But we've not had anybody write another offer since. We had somebody that says, we had somebody that said that they're going to write an offer. They said, hey, we're going to write an offer. We just want to sleep on it tonight and then come back with what our number is going to be. And we're like, okay, sounds good. They came back the next morning. Their broker said they had a change of heart. They're not going to write an offer. We asked why. He said they didn't give me any detail. We're like, well, could you get the detail? And he's like, no, they're just not interested. We're like, yeah, we get that. We get that. We just want to understand why. What was it the day before that they were making an offer that then the next day that they weren't making an offer? What changed? So they didn't tell us. So now where we stand is we're now 64 days on market. We've already done 1 price reduction. And again, that was based on a CMA. Frankly speaking, I said from my perspective, I'd be happy if I walked with 400 on the property, which meant after I paid broker's fees and blah, blah, blah. So if I was in the 420, 425 range, like that was fine. That was a good enough number for me. That number is still a good enough number for me. But where we stand right now is we're 64 days in. We're hearing from almost every single person that walks the place, and this is moronic, that they're waiting for the election. That's what almost every single person is saying. They're just like, well, we're really just looking because we're actually just kind of waiting for the election. So the way that the fall season goes is not an election year, is that usually you get the end of August, beginning of September, where everybody's getting their kids back to school. Then you see a little bit of a little bit of, hey, where everybody's back in school, we're back into our routine. Now we'll go look at houses again, and we just want to be able to close before Thanksgiving Day. So we're 10/10 now. Thanksgiving's the 3rd week, as you guys know, of November. And so what I believe is going to happen is I think we probably have maybe 4 weeks left, 4 or 5 weeks left. And here's what I mean by that. We have 4 or 5 weeks left because over the course of the next 4 or 5 weeks, somebody's going to be trying to buy it to close and be in before Thanksgiving, or somebody's going to be trying to buy it and close before Christmas or the end of the year. Usually before Christmas, sometimes it's before the end of the year, but they're looking to get that closure done so they actually have it happen this year. That way they can start getting the tax benefits for all of next year, and they can set themselves up. So what I believe is actually going to happen is I believe we'll probably get an offer, a reasonable offer in the next 4 weeks or so. And I will strongly consider it and try and put a deal together. And if not, then once we get into December, we'll actually take it off market. We'll take it off market. And we'll take it off market because at that point we'll know who's won the election. If the completely idiotic and moronic plan of giving people $25,000 to buy a home, if that then all of a sudden becomes a thing, because then that's the biggest Christmas present I could get, Because when the government gives you $25,000 or when they give everybody $25,000 as a home buyer, guess what happens? Properties go up more than $25,000. That's what happens. It's exactly how it works. Because when you buy something with that $25,000, guess what? It's leveraged. It's leveraged. It's only a percentage of. So that means you get that much more buying power, which means that my property is not going to go up 25 grand. My property is probably going to go up multiples of that, 2 to 3 times. So depending on how they structure that $25,000 free dollars that they're going to give everybody. So at that point, the logjam's done. So I think November, after the first week of November, we all know what happens the first week of November. After the first week of November, I think that's going to take a lot of the consternation out of the market. And I think that that's when we likely see an offer. So over the next 3 weeks, maybe we get an offer. That'd be fantastic. But if we don't, I think it's going to happen kind of that first week of November based on what happens there, because then people are going to be more identified with, I'm getting $25,000 or I'm not getting $25,000, but I'm going to get a bunch of tax. I'm going to be able to keep tax cuts. And at that point, we'll start seeing some real numbers around the economy as opposed to a bunch of this, blotted up stuff. That's just like, I don't believe that number either. And for those of you who say, well, the numbers are the numbers. Yeah, well, the numbers were the numbers and they misstated them for 8 months. That added up to 818,000 jobs that they didn't actually add. That's why everybody should be cynical, because just look at what they're telling us over the last year is that, yeah, we had said that we actually created 818,000 jobs. Yeah, we didn't. Oh, I mean, okay, like everybody makes mistakes. Like, how far off are you? So the whole 818, really? You weren't off like 100 grand? No. Not like 200 grand? Nope. Not even like 400 grand, like half. Like you didn't even get it half right. Yeah, I can't say as though we did. We actually got it all wrong. We got it completely wrong. Okay. Then I'd have to ask the question, what would you say you do here if you can't get the number that you're in charge of? The only thing that you're in charge of, you got it all wrong. All wrong. You were counting something wrong. Your only job is to count, and you did it wrong. Yeah. I don't know that if you did that in any job in the world that you'd still have your job. That's basically like showing up 0% of the time, getting it 100% wrong. So I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be interesting to see what actually happens with the market. But I think you're going to see a lot of stuff that as it comes to market, that's where I think you're going to see a lot of those shifts and changes. I think that it's going to be that first week of November. So I think we could be 90 days, maybe 90. Yeah. 21. So 85 and then a little bit of change there for the first week. So yeah, we're probably 90 days on market. I won't do another price reduction. Don't need to. This is one of the houses I got for free. So my monthly cost of holding this house is $500, $600. $600 is my monthly cost. So if it costs me $600 to keep the property and I can wait it out until February, okay, you got me. I got $2,400 into it. But hitting spring season, like March, April, May, I easily get the $2,400 back in a multiple. Or the thing moves, or rates are at 5.5 and they're not at 6.5 or 7. So that's one of the luxuries I have that other people that are selling don't have. So they have to put a deal together. I don't. So that's what's really interesting. That's what's really interesting about that. So, what's my deal now at 64 days on market? It's be patient and wait. I imagine if I were trying to sell my primary home that I'd be a little bit nervous. Don't need to be. I can make any number work because I own the thing outright. However, when playing this game, I look at what the cost is for me to hold on to the asset. It costs me a few $100 a month. That's fine. No big deal. So it's not the end of the world. But anyway, let's jump into the question. So what I would tell you is, this is the nice thing about being in a strong position, is that I have the negotiating power. People are like, oh, well, we're going to walk away. Oh, okay. There's your car. By the way, when you get in there, you stick the key in, you turn like this, but you got to have your foot on the brake to make sure it starts. And then you can hit the accelerator and burn out and take a leave. So yeah, it's not a big deal. It just is what it is, but it's important to understand and watch what's happening on the markets, because you know what's the most interesting? Here's what's the most interesting. I have a 1031 exchange and I cannot find a freaking property. I can't find one. I literally can't. I've called every wholesaler that I've done deals with. I've called every wholesaler I haven't done a deal with. Called every wholesaler. I've called every agent that I've ever done a deal with. I've got my agent looking. We are looking everywhere. We're calling all the biggest agents. We're calling all the wholesalers. Like, I've done everything. In the last 48 hours, I've made no less than 100 reach outs. And I still don't have a property that I can put in the 1031. Very frustrating. And so now I'm even looking at lousy deals just to see if there's anything that I can do to make them redeemable, make them quality. But yeah, this is the struggle of a 1031. We've never had a 1031 fail. I don't believe that this one's going to fail, but nonetheless, it's painful. It's a painful process because we have to find something that's going to work. So that being said, let's jump in, say hi. Oscar, hello. How are you, sir? Chris Culp, how are you, sir? I saw your email and I already sent the other Chris multiple text messages. I was told twice that I would have it this week. So I sent him another one tonight again. And so I expect to have cabinet stuff. I know he's starting a new job and I'm trying to be patient, but dude, stop giving me deadlines. Stop giving me dates and then not hitting them. Rick Tavius, hello, my friend. Congratulations on your closed deal. That's awesome. JLD Systems, happy Thursday, everyone. Yes, to you as well. Hider, there he is. Wayne Wong, strong silent type. Good to see you, Wayne. Wealth Building Journey, there he is. Chester, again, good to see you. Jason Calasabetta, what did you think about the event last night? Jason, would love to get your feedback. Robert Farinelli, hello, Matt. Hello, Robert Farinelli. There's Diane. How are you? Happy to be here for the first time. Really enjoyed the workshop last night. It was great to have you in the workshop. Love to have you here. Glad you're able to come hang out. Love you being part of the community because that's what we do here. We do community and we share stories. And I answer questions. Tim L, that fly had no chance with those tennis rackets. I know. Yeah, sorry, big hands. See, that's my head. Yeah. Michelle Meyer, hello, REI family. Hello, Michelle. I'm glad to see you again. Crimson Knight. So unfortunately, Dubuque Street was listed on MLS, but in for the first round of showings next Wednesday. Congratulations. That's great. So one of the many perks of being part of the Lumberjack Landlord community, when I know what community you're a part of, I have deals that come across my desk all over the country. This particular deal came across my desk. One of the investors that I know invests in that area. Actually, multiple investors, but this person I see the most often in live streams and such. So top of mind, what did I do? I literally just took it and I forwarded it on to him. Not looking for a commission, not looking for anything, not even looking for a thank you. Forwarded it on to him. It's a deal he's looking at. That's what he's talking about. He's going to go look at the deal this Thursday. So it's a fantastic opportunity for him to grow his portfolio. It's the market that he wants to be in. It's the type of building that he wants. So I'm happy to pass it on. But that's one of the cool things that happens in the Lumberjack Landlord community is we certainly pass on things when we know what people are trying to do. Problem is lending is tightening. Convoy and Velocity wants 20% on a DSCR loan. Wall Street is getting more picky. Hell yeah, they are. Guys, this is how it happens. All the lending starts to tighten. No more 3.5% unless it's going FHA. But as far as investor loans, the 5s, the 10s, the 15s disappear. You might get 20. You might be paying a little bit of a higher rate. Some banks, I've already talked to some banks this week on 3s that are 30% down. 30% down on a 3. This is what then tries to drag down that price. The problem is that market has so much money in it. There's so many people doing 1031s like me. There's so many people that have cash on the sidelines that when a deal comes up that cash flows, they just buy it. They just buy it. They can get the 30% down. Not a big deal to them. They're still going to put the deal together. But what it does do is it gets all of the other players out of the space. You know, the people that are looking at saying, hey, I'd really like to buy this with 5 or 10% down. all of a sudden they're on the outside looking in and they can't do deals anymore. That's what happens when the market starts to get softer. Banks start to tighten. The next thing that they're going to start doing is they're going to start pulling home equity lines. That's the next thing they're going to start doing. They're going to pull home equity lines and they're going to reduce your credit card rates. That's what's going to happen. When they start seeing too high utilization, they're going to start reducing your credit limits. It's that donkey choking money. You know it. You know it. That donkey choking money. Fairly. So it looks like it's not my time, which sucks. Yeah, because I felt like I'm going to be paying a lot more than spring and summer when my completion gets $25,000 for free. I know, right? But my position is just bad. Yeah, I get it. That's the biggest challenge. The biggest challenge is, when you need money, you can't get it. When you don't need money, you can get it in spades. And they're willing to give it to you at better rates. I had somebody quote me on a deal 6.5% today. I like the number. It's good. But we'll see. We'll see. Rictavius, calm down, Robert. Daddy Trump is going to win. We'll see. That's why they have the elections, right? We'll see. Chris Culp, no worries. Chris seems overwhelmed. Yeah, whatever. I don't care. When you're the guy, you gotta hit deadlines. So I appreciate that you're nice. I'm less nice. So I'm kicking him in the ass. Let's see. Hey, R. Freeman. What's up, everyone? Good to see you, sir. Julie Anderson, you should look for something in my area. Hell no. You live in commie land. No way. And I'm sure it's beautiful, but hell no. Nope. Emma K, good evening. Actively looking as I watch. Fantastic. Yep. Emma is one of our agents. She actually, she was the one who put us in the project house with that wholesaler. So that was fantastic. I think it's gonna be a great deal. Julie, we're related. That's right, Rictavius. You and Julie probably are related. Wolf Master, good to see you. Basilio, hey, Basilio. It's been a while. Good to see you, my friend. Jason Calasavetta, I thought it was great. So much information in such a short time. I talked to all the deconversion peeps looking at building tomorrow, then likely putting in an offer Saturday. Thank you very much. Very cool. Yeah, so Jason Calasavetta was talking about a deal where he could get into a building, and right now it's 3 condos. The issue is that Chicago has a silly law, punchline, that you can't actually own more than 1 condo in the same building. So that's fine. That actually blocks him from being able to buy this triplex that was converted to condos. However, he asked the question last night, what do I do? Am I able to not make it condos? Yes, you are. I've done it. There's actually a process. You look at the registry of deeds. You look at what the history of that deed was, how it was approved. You talk to the town and say, I want to basically release these from a condo conversion and make it all, basically make it a 3-unit building. Then you're allowed to buy it, obviously. So a lot of times people will convert to condos because that increases the value of the asset. Then if you're taking debt on that asset, that gives you more money to pull from. The downside is that when you go to convert to condos, it's a little process. You usually spend between $5,000 and $7,000 creating condo docs. Not only do you spend that $5,000 to $7,000 creating condo docs, but then you have to go fill out some paperwork for the town. In most cases, the conversion to condo is pretty straightforward. But like I said, that's $5,000 to $7,000 plus a little bit of attorney's fees to get it approved in the town and fill out the paperwork. You can do it yourself, but you're usually better off having an attorney do it because they're going to have to cite other examples of where this was done and why that's a good thing. And usually it's because, hey, we get to pay you more taxes for exactly the same property. So the challenge to that is that, that's where people literally find these areas where they look and they see a disproportionate amount of multifamily to what then the value is of those same units as condos. That's how it works. That's kind of one of the ways that they accomplish this. So what's really interesting is I've done that. I've not done the conversion. I've done the conversion to condo once or twice, and I've done the conversion from condo back to non-condo multiple times, or once. Actually, that one I've only done once. I have other big projects where I have to do that because The taxes are absolutely obliterating me. The taxes per those units are something ridiculous. Like, what are the taxes there? I want to say it's like 25 or $2,600 a unit. They're 2-bedroom units. It's insane. So the tax bill for that building is like 30 grand. I could knock it down to like 25. But again, that's the bill for the year. So it's a $5,000 difference. So it's $400 a month, call it, or $418 a month, or, so whatever. But we just haven't done it yet because there might be the possibility that we could sell them as condos, and all that work is already done. So that being said, congratulations to Jason Calasabetta. You're very welcome. Sorry, I had a word limit. No problem. But I wanted to describe exactly what he went through in that condo conversion, because now he understands what it's going to take to de-condo it. And when you de-condo something, that's a pretty easy process in most cases. It's filling out some paperwork, and then it has to get approved. But then they'll have to reassess the asset, because then they'll have to reassess it as a 3-unit and then give you a new tax number. But that's going to allow him to buy that asset, which then actually, will be pretty nice for cash flow. Julie Anderson, in your area, great appreciation. Yeah, I've got great appreciation too. I just don't have any interest in having it be difficult to get a tenant now. So that's one of my things. Eddie B. Truckin. Hey, Matt, quick question. I've closed on a duplex that has moisture issues in the crawl space. Should I go full encapsulation with dehumidifier, or just vapor barrier, Northwest Georgia climate? So I don't know specifically the Northwest Georgia climate. What I would do is I would have it quoted out both ways. There's going to be downsides and upsides to both options. I can tell you that when you go with a dehumidifier, now that's going to be something that's going to be on your bill every single month. I can tell you, having a space that has a dehumidifier, that bill is probably $80 to $100 a month. It's expensive. And plus all the work that had to be done. So I would say look at it both ways. I would look at full encapsulation with a dehumidifier and a vapor barrier, and then start to look at those different quotes. And then I would ask to talk to some of those folks that have done that. Once you find the right vendor, or even using that as a process for that right vendor, I would be talking to some of those folks and say, hey, what have you seen as a difference? Like, did it drastically increase your electric bill? This is where you go that extra step, right? Where now you're not just quoting out a project, but now you're quoting out which is the best way to do this, because, one is going to be significantly more expensive than the other. One will be more expensive than the other. And I think significantly more expensive than the other. But then the issue is, what's then the ongoing cost, right? What's then the ongoing cost? Because there's also a lot of ways to do that, where you can, spray the area with, mold retardant product, where mold can't grow, Zinsser bins, etc., those types of things. So that's what I would be looking at. So I think that's great, Eddie. Congratulations. But I would be talking to 2 or 3 vendors and say, I want you to give me a quote both ways. One with the vapor barrier and one with the dehumidifier and encapsulation. And that way you're making an informed decision. But like I said, you're going to want to talk to a couple of customers from your area that have used this vendor, have them give you a couple references, and then just understand, what's this going to mean to me ongoing cost? Because that's going to be a big thing. Because think about it this way. If it's going to be $80 to $100, right? To have the dehumidifier in there, well, that's, $1,000 to $1,200 a year. It's a lot of money, right? That's a lot of money. And then you figure a 5-year plan. Okay, now we're talking about $6,000. Okay, now it's a big number. So I would be looking at the scope of that project in a 3 or 5-year scope. And then that will start to give you healthier numbers to be able to make your best decision from. So let me know how that goes. I'm happy to take your questions on that and see what the people say and help you wade through it. So that's a great question. JLD Systems looking at there we go. JLD Systems looking at a 1-acre lot with a mobile on it. Zoning officer says it's zoned commercial and currently a non-conforming use. Multifamily would not be considered commercial. Oh, interesting. Okay. Current owner attempted to get a variance to replace the trailer with a house and was denied. He thinks the objective now is to list it commercial and prove it cannot be used as commercial. So they can apply for a hardship variance. Multifamily would have to be R3 or R4, I think he said. He said change of use is the same as variance. It's not. A CUP, a change of use permit, is nothing like a variance. It's not. How do I encourage them? How do I encourage them think differently? So a CUP is not the same as a variance. Variances. So think of it this way. A CUP is like small claims court. It's just more likely than not, right? There's not a bunch of heavy studying that goes into a COP. It's just more likely than not. When you talk about a variance, you're talking about criminal law level deniability. So it's not even the evidence showing it. It's beyond the preponderance of the evidence. Beyond that, it's that high of a standard to get a variance. Variances are very, very, very hard. So what I would have them looking at is, I think the path that you should go down is investigating the likelihood of a CUP being attained, and that would be talking to not the code enforcement officer, but that would be talking to the planning department, or and that's who I would talk to. I would talk to the planning department and say, help me understand, and go down to them, help me understand the difference that you guys have from a process perspective of a CUP versus a variance. Look it up online first. Read through it a few times, see if you understand it. Even if you believe you understand it, still go in and have the conversation. This is how we start creating relationships. I brought in something to the town offices, and one of the things I'm working on, and she said, you know what? I've had to tell you no on the last 3. I said, I know. Trust me, I remember. And she said, but I think I can tell you yes on this one. And I was like, really? Do tell. She actually thinks that on this project, she's going to be able to give me a CUP, a change of use permit. That's stinking awesome. Because she's like, yep, meets that criteria, meets that. Because I always want the town's validation. Then I send them an email after I've talked to them. I send them an email saying, hey, thank you again for taking the time with me today. I really appreciate it. Just to make sure we're on the same page, this is what the difference is with the CUP versus the variance. And based on our conversations, if they say, yeah, the likelihood of a CUP there is very high, the likelihood of a variance is very low, you can always, and I always tell people, hey, listen, I don't want to waste your time. I hope you don't want to waste my time. I'm happy to provide and fill out all the paperwork for the variance, but when was the last time something like this was approved? That's what you need to ask. When was the last time something like this was approved? And if they say, oh, I don't think one's ever been approved, well, then you're wasting your time. If they say, you know, I'm sure we've approved 1 or 2 or the other, blah, 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 I would, and then your next follow-up question is, awesome, who is the attorney who worked on that? Not joking. Or what case was that? What was the property address for that? And then you go look it up yourself. You see who the attorney was, and then you go have a conversation with that attorney. Always keep on pulling the string. Always keep on pulling the string of that sweater. You want to keep on pulling the string of that sweater. That's what's so important. So that's how you get to the end goal there, to figure out, is a CUP possible? Is it likely? Is a variance possible? How likely is that? If it isn't likely at all or never likely, then abandon ship. If it's not, then have the conversation with the attorney that did it, got it approved, and say, does this fit the criteria? Does this fit the criteria for my being able to get this thing done? And then the attorney can weigh in there and say, yeah, you know what? I think you got an okay shot at getting this approved. That's exactly how JLD systems, that's exactly how you take them through the entire process. You know, so keep on pulling that strand. I just gave you, for the last 7 minutes, I just gave you exactly the plan that I've done in the past that's been successful. It's worked. So hopefully that's helpful to you. Let's see. Robert Farinelli, assume you are always effed, so assume Kamala will send Manchester triplexes to 1 million. Not going to happen. Robert Farinelli, the triplex that I just sent you was $675. A 50% increase to get to 1 million ain't going to happen. No way. Not in this market. No way, Jose. Wayne Wong, what an awful lot for condos. I know, it's ridiculous. Investing folks, good to see you. Have you ever had roaches in a building, and how did you handle it? I did. For 20 years, I avoided it. Never had them. And then I had a Section 8 tenant, and she hit the trifecta. When she moved in, the place was Perfect. We had just redone it. It was a nice unit. By the time she left 18 months later, it had mice, rats, and roaches. Not joking. Rice, rats, or mice, not rice. Mice, rats, and roaches. No joke, trifecta. So with roaches, roaches are extremely resilient. They'll crawl into walls. They're definitely going to get into other parts of the unit. What you want to do is you absolutely want to call an exterminator. And then they'll put out all the traps. They'll put out all the roach traps. Roaches like damp spaces. So under sinks, in the bathroom, toilet, if you get condensation on the outside of your toilet, in your kitchen sink, sometimes underneath your fridge. I feel like I'm playing 100,000 Pyramid. What are places roaches like to go? Yes, nailed it. So I think that, so that's what happens. That's what happens with roaches. So had them, not a big deal. You got to handle it and handle it quickly. But get somebody there, get multiple quotes, ask them about their treatments. The thing that you always want to look at with pest stuff is, okay, you come and do the initial treatment, and then what's the follow-up? Okay, and how much does that cost? All right, and if that doesn't work, then what's the follow-up, and how much does that cost? That's where you start to pull the thread of the sweater when it comes to pest control stuff. Is, okay, if that treatment doesn't work, do you do a second treatment? And then how far out is that? And then how long do you guarantee it after that second treatment? And we see nothing. How long do you guarantee that? Those are the things you need to be asking. There's some guys that say, hey, I take care of the problem. It's $9.95. Mm-hmm. There's other guys that say, so I come out and I spray one time and that's $7.95. And then if you have an issue and you see them again, I come out a couple weeks later, I look at all the strips that I put down. And if we see anything and you want me to spray again, then I'm $400 to spray again. I'm half the price. Do you see how they do it? So one guy's $1,000 all in, but the other guy says, yeah, I'll do $7.95. But if I got to show up again, I'm going to charge you another $400. The other thing to learn about those and bed bugs, quite frankly, is that when they spray, they create a barrier. So what ends up happening is the pest goes across that barrier. That's when they get poisoned. So just because you've sprayed, it doesn't mean they hit that barrier and they instantly die. It's not how it works. They go across that barrier, they get poisoned. So then you find their dead bodies. And then that's when the tenant freaks out and they're like, look, roaches, more roaches. Yeah, but they're dead. And we waited 2 weeks and they came across the barrier. Let me know in 3 and 4 weeks if we're actually still seeing activity, because now the poison is kind of worn off. That's literally how it works. So let me know if that's helpful. Summertime Santa, just wanted to say hi. Got to go to bed so I can wake up this morning at 2 a.m. I'll watch this later. Summertime Santa, good to see you. Julie Anderson, get it rezoned. Banks like it better and will be more valuable. So if that's around the JLD systems piece, rezoning can be challenging too. A lot of cities do not like rezoning, and that can be a very long process. So rezoning, largely speaking, is a strategy. While possible, it's not a probable thing, and it can cost you quite a bit of money and time. All-nighter hider, JLD, realistically look up the legal definition in Black's Law Dictionary to be able to compare words by definition. Then ask them what legal dictionary they use to get their definitions, always diplomatically. So the shorter path to that is, yes, you can take hider's route, not a problem. However, the shorter path to that is truly just asking them, where they can point out, say, can you describe that to me? And then I always say, show me. Just show me where it is so I can, kind of get my brain around it. I'm a visual learner. That works every single time. Every single time that works. Cadilla 1400 or Cadilla 14. I have 3 vendors saying do a French drain, dehumidifier, or ventilation system, and a contractor saying just regrade concrete to stop water coming into the basement. Where can I get an unbiased view? Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's really no way to get an unbiased view. It's because the people that are looking, have them guarantee something. Yep. So what would you be able to guarantee if I put in the French drain and the dehumidifier? Will you guarantee that I won't have a problem anymore? Or you talk to the concrete guy and say, great, if I do that, is there some sort of a guarantee? A, you find out, do they stand behind their work? And B, yeah, you guessed it. If there's a problem, guess what? You're in a pretty good spot at that point if there's a problem. So I actually do. Me personally, I kind of like that approach. What the heck is going on? Why would that go backwards? I just have to get the Bruins score. I think it's 6-4, but I don't know. We'll see. JLD Systems. Thanks, Mark, Matt, and Mark. You're very welcome. Rictavius, what is the best way to address tax assessor on trying to reduce property taxes based on the appraisal from the bank? Appraisal from the bank doesn't make a hill of beans difference. Doesn't mean a hill of beans difference. Rictavius, what you have to compare to is your neighbors. You have to find other properties in the area that are assessed for less than yours that are like yours. That's what you have to find. Appraisals have no bearing whatsoever on assessed values. None. Zero. So you could bring him that all you want. They're not going to change a thing. You have to show them, hey, my neighbor next door, same amount of square footage, same amount of bedrooms, basically the same size lot, and they're paying $1,000 less. That's the only way to win a tax abatement. That's the way to do it. And to basically get your taxes reduced. All-nighter. Legal definitions are the bedrock from which law operates. It's true, sort of. What law operates off of is case law, which can be scary because you can be deviating from the Constitution just because one judge got it wrong and it passed and it didn't get overturned. Now all of a sudden they're studying case law. They're not studying the actual law. They're studying case law. And that's where you get that slippery slope where the system slowly deteriorates. Here, I have to hit this button because this is just bugging the daylights out. Okay, there we go. That's right. That's right. That's a better way of doing this. Nice. Okay, back to questions. Common Sense REI. Go to talk with a local bank tomorrow. So pumped. Yes. Guys, local banks, 2 billion assets under management, AUM, 4 to 7 locations locally within a town or two of where you're trying to invest. Those are the conversations. Common Sense REI, who are you meeting with? I need to know. Your tenant had lots of pets. Yes, it's true. Let's see here. Common Sense. Financing for my next property. Mine. Love it. Jim Young. Get them to check into the Roach Motel. It's a good start. You could do that. Larry Bird. No one's getting 25K. I'd like to believe you, Larry Bird. I hope you're right. Certainly will buy a lot of votes, though. Let's see. Robert Fernelli. On a more serious note, what is the website where you find eviction records in New Hampshire? I tried a case lookup site, but couldn't find any of my previous evictions. You can do it through Zillow. You can do it through there. Rents, I think it's apartments.com also does eviction stuff. I would be calling the courts. I would call the courts and ask them. I would also call an attorney and ask them. There's multiple different places that you do them. I know that there's a few out there. The solutions out there aren't awesome because they only do it in that county. They also only might do it in that state. When you use like a Zillow, it does it more broadly. Also background searches. If that's something that you want to do on that tenant, you can have them pay for it. Oh, I offended at least 8 people with that statement of you never know on the $25,000 like that. People are so finicky sometimes. Eddie B. Truckin', 4-6 Bruins. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Minute left. there's just something magical about beating those Montreal Canadiens. Great history. Too bad they haven't done anything in 30 freaking years. Let's see. Oh, later. Yes, get the code. Get the code numbers, but then can parse the code word by word and get a much better understanding. Absolutely. Aculus, how concerned would you be about a crack running across a concrete basement floor? What would LL do? Aculus, good question. It really depends. It depends on how old the foundation is, number one. Number two, are you getting any sort of water seepage out of it? You have groundwater coming up where you might, that's a bigger issue. Water coming up out of it. Could be ground settling. It could be any number of things. In that particular case, because there are so many things that it could be, I actually have a concrete, I'll have a concrete specialist, like a foundation guy. I'll have somebody come out and take a look at it. Because there's a lot of things that you can do there. It could be, it's settling. It could be a million different things. You can cut it out. You can, the thing that is always concerning is water, because that hydraulic pressure, it can be the biggest issue. But most basements that I see, they certainly have cracks on them or have dirt floors. So that's not, that just so you know, that's not a big stretch. But I would call a concrete specialist and have them come take a look at it and start to survey it. When you see a crack, so on a wall, when you see a crack like this, it means that the earth is moving underneath it and it's shifting. And that's why you get that type of a crack. But yeah, I would definitely be getting a concrete guy out there to take a look at it, a foundation guy. Not just a normal like concrete person, but an actual foundation guy. I would get a foundation guy out there to take a look at it. And again, depends on how big the crack is. I've seen hairline cracks. I've also seen cracks where like you can literally see that there's a height level difference. And again, that could be water, that could be groundwater pushing up. It can be a bad thing. So I would definitely bring in a foundation guy just to have them look at it. And then give their opinion. And then if he starts giving quotes and all this other stuff, then there you go. Kadia 14. Thanks for asking for guarantee. Yep. Also, thanks for validating ongoing cost for dehumidifier. I still need to research if a ventilation system is effective, but it's $6 a month versus $60 for a dehumidifier. That's the issue. The dehumidifiers, they work great, but here's the other thing to think about. So just think about this. It's $60 a month to run it. It's probably $250 to $300 to buy a decent one, because you have to buy one with a pump. You have to buy one with a pump unless you want to be emptying that thing every freaking day. So you buy one with a pump where it fills up a certain amount and then it pumps out. The problem is that those pumps go, and just like everything else that gets manufactured nowadays, you can't really replace the pump. Usually you have to replace the whole thing. Now you're talking about another $250, $300. Depending on how often that thing's on, you might be replacing those once every year, once every 2 years, once every 3 years. I've seen all of those different scenarios. So again, you put yourself in a position where it's like, hey, it might be $60 a month, $720 a year, but it also might be a new dehumidifier every single year. And then you have to deal with the mess when it fails. So you could be looking at, again, $100 a month type of ongoing problem. That's where I want to start to look at a lot of other options. Love it. 6-4 the final. Go Bruins. Hold on one second. What is this? Oh, go away. Stop. That's ridiculous. Where is it? Sorry. No, wrong one. This one. Oh, boy. Sorry, guys. 1 second. I just saw what I thought was... Nope, it's not. Oh, come on. Written urgent. That bothers me. Not urgent. Common Sense REI, Great Plains Bank. I asked how many assets they had under management, but the mortgage rep didn't know. They never do. We're supposed to be meeting with a loan VP. That's okay as well. Who will know? I need to look. So the better person that you want to speak to at the local bank is you want to try calling the senior lender. It usually goes CEO and president, and then CFO, and then COO, And then senior lender is usually right in that mix of that top tier or one tier down, because then you have like a VP of lending, and then you have, and the VP of lending is in charge of all of the different reps. And then you have a VP loan officer. And then you're just getting further and further down the tier. The senior lender is the one who decides the rate, and you want them to know your name. My name in 3 different banks, I know the senior lender and they know me. And when they go for loan, when the mortgage VP, when he goes for approval, he literally says, "Oh, is this one of Matt's deals? Yeah, this is one of Matt's deals. Oh, cool. Love to see what he's doing now." They always approve my stuff because I got the reputation as, holy cow, this guy's got margin and big hands. But that's what happens. So you want to be typically getting in touch with a senior lender at that level, because it's a small enough bank where you can find out who that person is and get on and just give them a call and just say, and again, act like an investor, guys. Act like an investor in assets, not a landlord. You can be an asset manager and an operator. What I talk to them about is I say, yeah, I'm a property investor, but I'm also, I'm a property investor, and that, we treat, this is how when we talk about the properties, we talk about, we have a number of assets. We've got 52 assets in this market. We've got about 400 tenants. And really what we focus on is, we are owner operators. And so because we are owner operators, we actually have an uncanny ability to reduce our costs and really manage the assets well at a much lower price than our competition. That keeps us filled. That keeps our tenants satisfied, and with a high renewal rate, well into the 90%. You have that type of a conversation. Do I sound better than somebody just calling a loan officer and asking for a loan? Of course I do. That's why I want you guys to elevate the game. And when you have that kind of a conversation with a senior loan officer, they say, "Oh, fantastic. So why are you calling me?" So the reason I'm calling you is because, I've been watching your bank for some time. I'd like to start a relationship with your bank. And my focus is, as I continue to, grow my asset portfolio, I'd like to have a relationship with your bank because I believe that I can add value to the bank by giving you good, stable assets. And because that we are owner operators, and because that we manage the asset portfolio the way that we do, we believe that we're a better option for you than somebody that doesn't. That hires a bunch of property management and fingers crossed hopes they're doing their job. Because there's also a massive cost layer to that. You have that conversation with a senior lender and they're going to say, yeah, this is fantastic. And what are they going to do? They're going to send you down to that VP, and that VP is going to handle your stuff. Or that VP is going to say to his top rep, "Hey, I'm handing you this guy. Take care of him. He's an investor. He's got a bunch of properties. She's an investor. She's got a bunch of properties. And let's continue to roll with this." That's how you do it. That's how you do it. That's why I get in line with the top of the food chain. And then when they start to see my name over and over again, they're like, "Oh," because I then tell the rep, I say, "Here's the best part. We're going to get you, if you're not already on the map with the senior management now, you will be, because I called them on purpose because I wanted to see if your bank was a good fit. And the best news about that is that we're going to grow bigger together." Banks have to lend out money. It's their job to make sure the money that they're lending out is the least risky loan that they can make. And the way that you do that and convince them of such is that you are an asset manager that is an owner operator. That's the way you do it. Man, that was just pure gold. That was just pure gold. Holy cow, that was pure gold. Key, how are you, sir? From the left coast joining us. Robert Farinelli. So wait on your Door Loop app. I thought you said make it so applications are free. So you are getting eviction history unless you are footing the bill. So I love Door Loop. We use it for everything, but we don't actually use it for the background stuff. We, depending on what we have, depending on the scenario, is what we use. So we will do, we'll have them, they can also apply through like a Zillow or whatever, because then the bill is on them. Same with apartments.com. You can have the bill be on them. Yep. What we want to try and do is we want to qualify people up front with paychecks, with credit, with paycheck, with pay stub, with credit. But the last piece of that is the eviction piece. We want them to say what they think. And no, I've never been evicted. And then if we find it, then we instantly disqualify them because we know they're liars. Yeah. Oh, all-nighter. Last comment on this. LOL. That's okay. Legal definitions are the language by which case law is written. Yep. When a judgment is not held accountable to legal definitions, that's when perverse case law sets precedent. I totally agree. And that's what makes the problem, right? But most people aren't studying the meaning of the words. They're studying case law because their idea is if they can get in front of a bad judge, and not bad like evil, but bad like not very good at their job, they can cite case law, and then the judge will sit there and go, oh, well, it's case law. Like it happened before. Look right here. That's why everybody winning, that's why they call them landmark cases. When you win a deal like that, when you win a case like that then challenges law, and that's new case law that's had, that's sadly what's taking us further and further away from the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Christopher R. Workshop. Awesome last night. Thanks, Christopher R. Thank you very much for saying so. I'm glad you were there. Glad you were able to hang out. Hope I appreciate that it was valuable to you. JLD, Common Sense REI. There is a website where you can look up that bank info. Yes, there is. Yep, there sure is. Yeah, you can also Google it too. You can very easily Google it. You can find, even private banks. It might not be 100% accurate, but it's horseshoes and hand grenades. It's going to get you ballpark. If they're 2.3 billion, yeah, still call them. The biggest thing is like locations. Do they have 4 to 8 locations? That's the biggest thing to watch. And then the other thing too is that you can also look at that for credit unions as well. It's not just banks. Credit unions are usually more conservative, but if they have a growth strategy in place, they still have to make their members, they're non-for-profit, but they still have to return money to their members the way that credit unions are structured. So they're non-for-profit, but they still have rules and they still have to lend. They still have to create income in order to manage ongoing operations. I did not see the Flyers win the cup. Didn't. Born in 77. No cup for me for the Flyers. Lars, good to see you. Lars, there were some other investors last night there from Maryland. Oh, it was Nitin. Nitin, if you're still here, Lars Nielsen, this is the guy that I was talking about that does stuff in Delaware, Delaware and Maryland area, as well as Wealth Building Journey. GLD Systems, I think Matt shared in the past, likely. Christopher R. Got my first duplex. Congratulations. Good for you. Now I need a lease agreement. Should I get one drawn up from a lawyer or should I get one for free? Get one for free, but here's how you get the right one for free. Here's what you need to do as being a brand new landlord. It's important that you have an attorney you can bounce questions off of. It's nice if you are part of the local REI in that area because you want to start to form those relationships. I would be going to those meetings and just saying, hey, I just bought my first place. All guys like me are happy to help new guys in the business. So if you were in New Hampshire, I'm happy to share my lease with you. But because you're not in New Hampshire, I can't share my lease with you because there's probably things in there that are New Hampshire legal that are illegal in a bunch of other states. And so I want to set you up for a fail. That's why I don't include the lease. In the course is because I just don't want to get people stuck. That's honestly why. So the best thing to do is a couple things. One is local REI meetups, talking to all those different people and who they use for evictions, who they use to handle different attorney type of stuff when it comes to real estate, because you're going to want to talk to somebody. That way, when you have a problem occur, which you will, you have an outlet and somebody that already knows you that you can call immediately. You can actually set up multiple consultations, free 1-hour consultations, go and meet them. And the biggest criteria that I have for an attorney that actually is going to do my legal stuff when it comes to being a landlord is they have to be landlords too. It's my biggest rule, because they're selfish, because they're people. And their job for themselves is to make sure that they're notified of the law and understand it, because it's how they're going to navigate. So the next question I ask them is, when was the last time you did an eviction? Because there's different types of real estate attorneys. They might say, oh, never done an eviction. Oh, okay. All right. So what do you typically do in the real estate side? Well, I get approvals, CUPs, change of use permits, variances, project approvals, town approvals. That's a very valuable attorney to have. However, not really valuable in the first few years. The one that's really valuable is the eviction attorney. And how do you find those eviction attorneys? Really simply, you go to court where they do the evictions and you watch a morning of court and you see who you like, how they handle themselves. But again, your best resource, relationship, your network is your net worth. Get those relationships in local REI groups, even if it's just an online Facebook group, to better understand who the better eviction attorneys are in your area. Senior lender, got it. Thanks, Matt. Common Sense REI, you are welcome. Lars, I would like to remind the Toronto media the last time the Maple Leafs won the cup was 1967. That is true. Sadly, this is their best chance ever. Since then, this is the best team that they've had. They actually have a legit goaltender in Wall. Truly believe that. But again, so that's how you get your lease and potentially a free lease. But you need to start those relationships right away. You need other landlords you need to be talking to other landlords. You need to have an attorney that, hey, if I have a problem with a tenant, I need to be able to call you. Yes. Those are the types of things. And you want to make sure that they have experience in those things in court. Santi, it's been a while, my friend. Good to see you, Santi. Aculus, margin, choke a donkey. Yes, yes, yes. Key, love this sentence. Acts like an asset manager, not a landlord. I'll remember this until the last breath. Thank you, Matt. You're welcome, Key. Guys, up your game. Up your game. Talk differently. I'm a landlord. What? Everyone hates landlords. Do you guys realize lumberjack landlord? The reason I made it that way is because it was an affront. It was one of these. Landlord. People hate that word. I love it. I love that they hate it. But when you're in that world, you want to be an asset manager that is an owner operator of the business. Now they think of you as a business person. That's what you want them thinking of you as. Because business people like terms or don't like terms. If they don't like the terms, they walk away. And banks understand that, where we have that conversation with them and just say, listen, in managing these assets and in being the owner operator, the thing that I'm most concerned about is blah, 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 is sustainability. And so anytime that I can pay less for a rate up front and still give a great asset to the bank, we do great deals and they cash flow. They have good, healthy returns. We actually see that this market typically has a return of 6 to 7%. Our deals actually look at typically 9 in the first year, and then they go up to 12 or 13 in the second year. Guys, there is no number in my business that a bank could challenge me on that I don't know like this. And that's what brings you street cred. That's what brings you street cred. That's what they start paying attention to. I get calls from the bank. Kid you not, got a call from the bank. They said, so we're looking at this asset and these rents that we're seeing on here seem completely out of control. And I said, okay. And they listed off the rents and I was like, there's no way those are real. They're doing something illegal there. There's no way those are real rents. Because my rents for that same type of asset, and I'm at the top of the class, was like $2,400. They were saying it was $3,500. And I was like, there's no way those rents are real. I said, so they're like, well, how do you know that? I said, because it's just numbers, guys. So what I literally told them was, you need to start drilling down with questions. That's what has to happen here. You need to start drilling down with questions, because my belief is those numbers are made up, and however they're getting to that number, if they're renting by the room, it might be on an asset that it's illegal to rent by the room. It might be Airbnb. Wouldn't you like to know that it's Airbnb before you're before you're writing out a loan on the Airbnb? Do you want exposure to short-term rentals? I get appraisers that call me. I get banks that call me, and I'm able to give them the feedback that I would be looking at myself. Santi, do you ask for first month's and last month's security? Have you ever used any type of security deposit insurance instead? I don't like security deposit insurance. I think it's too muddy, and it's something that's really expensive for the tenant. The other thing is that in my state, it's illegal to ask for last month's. So in many states, that's allowed. In New Hampshire, it's not allowed. The most I can ask for is a deposit and first month's rent, and the deposit can't be more than first month's rent. Those are the rules that we have to live by, so I play by those rules. Eddie B. Truckin', one more question. No, Eddie, keep the questions coming, my man. That's what we do. We have community together. I have a roof that needs to be replaced within 5 years. Would you recommend architectural shingle or 3-tab? Architectural shingle. Are there any benefits to one over the other? Yes, architectural shingle. Dude, you're all good, Eddie. I'm always happy to help, my man. Architectural shingle every single time. Triple tabs are not rated to last 30 years. They aren't. They are a thinner shingle than a 30-year architectural. And there's a different bake-on process for basically what's called the asphalt on the shingle. 30-year architectural shingles, here's what you have to make sure you're watching. When you install 30-year architectural shingles on a roof, and it's right on top of what's called the substrate or the wood. When you install those and you do your ice and water shield, that's usually in the first 3 feet. And sometimes on a less steep roof, you'll go another 3 feet with ice and water. That's actually a roll. When you roll that stuff out and then you do felt paper above that and felt paper above that and felt paper above that until you're basically at your chimney, where you're then going to lead your chimney. And lead is what they use around the base of the chimney to then make sure, and then they kind of melt it into the brick. That way you don't get any seepage down around the chimney, but it also creates like this apron that goes out onto the shingles so you don't get in there any leaks that come into your attic from your chimney. But that 30-year architectural shingle, think about it, it's also much thicker and more difficult to cut. And so what you're looking for there is when you're installing that on top of your brand new wood on your roof, or even if it's old wood, but it's still in good shape, when you're installing that and then your ice and water, and then you are, and then your felt paper, your black felt paper, when you're installing that, make sure they're using the appropriate nails that the book calls for, because with every shingles comes a description on it. That's your warranty. That's your warranty. This stuff usually is warranted for, it's a 30-year architectural shingle. If you're found to have installed it perfectly to their spec, then you can get a return on your warranty. Sometimes it's a craftsmanship thing and they look back and they go, oh, hey, this is the guy and he installed it incorrectly. We're going to deny your claim. That's where you ask them, you say, what kind of shingles do you guys install? And do you follow the instruction manual on how to install them to make sure if I have a problem, blah, blah, blah. A lot of times the roofers will say, hey, we'll give you this much warranty on the roof, where if you have any leaks within 3 years, we'll come back and replace it for free. Anything after that is going to be on you. That's obviously different depending on the area, because in Florida, every roofer would go bankrupt if that were the case. But that's what you want to do. You want to make sure. So triple tab is not nearly the quality product that 30-year architectural shingles are, number one. Number two is the ice and water, depending on the slope of the roof and whether you do 1 row or 2 rows of ice and water, felt paper underneath that, lead around the chimney at the top. And then making sure you're doing new drip edge, but again, that they're following the instructions based on the instructions that the manufacturer has for installing their product. You follow that, you leave yourself the least opportunity to get ripped off. Number one. And number two is you leave yourself the least opportunity of not getting a claim honored if for some reason you do have an issue. Hopefully that helps. All-nighter header. Eddie, from what I know, dimensional shingles are thicker with a longer warranty. 3-tab is thinner. Yep. And maybe more difficult to match and patch if ever is needed. 3-tab is less available. 3-tab is less available with quality retailers because it's a far inferior product over 30-year. With triple tab, you might get 15 or 20 years out of it, and the labor costs, they're not going to, usually the roofing firm is not going to go less money to install that product. Even though they can do it faster, they're still usually not going to do it. I always go 30-year arc. Every roof that we do has only ever been 30-year architectural shingles, 40-year architectural shingles, or metal. I don't love the metal because it's kind of noisy in the rain. Nitin, hey Matt, what are your thoughts on investing in self-storage units? Love it. Tried to put a number of deals together. The issue with that is it's very much a yield play or a return on capital play, and everybody has the same calculator, so it's just a matter of how much you want to pay for the return that you're going to get. It's really saying, if I buy this property and I invest in it, that's the problem, is that there's a lot of big players in that space that have a far better model than a small guy. And here's what they do. They come into an area, they look and they see there's 7 privately held ones. They buy 4 or 5 of them, and then they jack up the prices. So they coordinate all these transactions with all these different players, and then they close within 30 days on all those transactions. And then over the course of the next year, they jack up the rates crazy high. Happened in our area. We watched rental units that were $195 go to $315. So they're up 50%. And so they knew that they were going to be doing that. They knew they could get that pricing pressure because they were buying a majority of the nice assets in the area. So they knew that they could get that. And so that's why they were blowing away the guy, right? So I'm sitting here and I'm the owner. And I'm like, man alive, look at that number that they're offering me. I mean, I only make $195 a month on our most expensive units, and my debt service on that might be $130. So I'm only making $65 a month on that. I mean, hey, if they're willing to pay that and only make the $195, no, you bird brain. They're going to rent it out for $310 or $315 or $320, and they're going to make more money on the unit than you ever did, and you sold it willingly, not placing enough value on the asset. But here's why. You should have been higher in the market, but that's where the guys that walk into those markets and then own those assets, they're great. They're fantastic assets. I've been looking for about 3 years. I've gotten close twice, but we just couldn't put the deal together. And like I said, you're better off if you have the stomach for it. You're better off trying to find the land and develop it, is what you're better off doing. Because the big guys, guess what they do? They market the hell out of their stuff. Search words, Facebook ads, Google ads, they do all that stuff. So every single time anybody from that area searches storage units, they're going to come up in the recommended pages before you every single time. Ran the businesses, run through all those numbers. I love the industry. But yeah, it's got some big players in there that are total sharks. And they can outmarket the hell out of you. So if you have a great background in marketing, understand SEO and pay-per-click, understand how to get better rankings on pages, how to better advertise. If you do that, then you can be in good competition with them. If you don't, if they find out that there's an asset like that for sale, guess what? They're going to buy it up in 5 seconds, and they're going to add it to another jewel in their crown. Absolutely can happen that way. Yeah. And Diane, are you familiar with National Tenant Network? Only by name. I've never used it, in all honesty. Aculus, follow on to Eddie B, Trucking Q. Do you hear of Roof Max Life Extender? Is it any good? Never heard of it. What is it? Is it like a spray on? I don't know what it is. Key, Matt, question. You got it. What do you got, Key? When using a kettle in the kitchen ceiling light flicks. The rest of the house is okay. How to diagnose the problem? Electrician, you probably have some sort of a short, or you have some sort of too much of a draw on that line. Yeah. Yep. That's what I would guess. I would just get an electrician to come in and diagnose, because my guess is that that's something they could probably fix pretty easily. I don't touch electrical. I call electricians. Some stuff I'll touch, but not much. Hyder, same question. If you can type an answer. Yeah, I'm sure he could. Yeah, Aculus. Let's see. Eddie B Trucking. Thanks on there. Yep. Nitin, there you go. Aculus. I have not, but it sounds like an elastomeric paint. Yeah. That gets rolled onto a roof. Yeah, sure. Yep. Yeah, that's what I was guessing. It sounds like a spray or roll on. There's stuff that they use. If you guys look it up, there's something that they use called GACO, GACO. They use that in most trailer parks because most of those have metal roofs. And then this is kind of like a rubber membrane that gets rolled on top of that. Think about, it's like the original Flex Seal. It's kind of like that when you roll it out and it creates a membrane. Let's see. Fatty Jay-Z. Any ideas on how to save money in a burr? Oh, of course. Rehab looks great. In order to get the good appraisal, then I'm left with a rental that looks better than most homes for sale. Yeah, so you got to be watching. You got to be watching the series, my man. There's so many different ways to save money on burrs. It's tons of them. It's experience. Check out the series I've already done. It's on the channel. It's active now. We're doing a flip house or a tenant house right now. We'll figure out at the end what we decide we want to do with it based on what's going on with the market, what debt looks like, blah, blah, blah. So we're going to be looking at all that, but check that piece out. That's what you want to be watching. You want to be watching that video series because I'm taking you guys through a flip. Every single thing that I do, how I do it, the stuff I use, how I built the budget, everything's there. I think it's only 3 or 4 videos long right now, but we're going to be filming another video there. I think this weekend is when we're doing our next video there because we're going to show you everything we've completed. And then we're going to show you, hey, here's what we're doing for next steps. We expected to complete more this week, but what we did was in meeting with all the rest of the contractors, we basically got contracts set for finishing up a lot of the additional work. The only thing, and again, I'm waiting on the kitchen guy, freaking kitchen guy. I'm waiting on him to get the price of the kitchen to see, because I've got $6,500 in there for a budget, but we're making good progress, but we'll wait and we'll see. Let's see. All-nighter hider. The ads say it's adds many years to life, but of course they say that. Yeah, exactly right, Aculus. I think the issue is that does that void your warranty with the shingle company? That's something to really consider. Because sometimes when you add something to their product, they say, hey, there's no additives. You can't do this. You can't do that. That then voids your warranty. So you're then making the bet on them. And do they have a warranty? And what do they do about their warranty? That's where you start to get into all that sort of stuff. Fatty Jay-Z, do I focus on big things or attack loose ends? Thanks. Again, depends on what the big things are. Depends on what the loose ends are. Depends on how much money you have to spend. Depends on, if it goes to market, what's it going to sell for? If you have to rent it, what's that going to rent for? That's where there's not nearly enough information for me there to give you a good, accurate answer. So that's why you should watch that series. It's well worth it. I think we've got a total of a couple hours in there so far. I just hit 10 hours in that project. So as of today, I'm at 10 hours. But that number is going to continue to dial up, but slowly. All-nighter. Let's see. Key electric kettle, maybe drawing a lot of juice from that circuit, and the lights are reflecting that draw. LEDs are incandescent lights. LED. Yep. Electric kettle. Yep. Yeah. Sometimes the LED lights can do that when something gets on the system of more draw, even though it's not the lights drawing it. But yeah, I would have, you could do it with an amp meter yourself. But again, as soon as I start doing that stuff, I just call the electrician and to say, hey, put your amp meter on it. Let me know what you're getting with light switch on, light switch off. My guess is, like I said, it's either some sort of a draw thing or a short. It's probably one of the two. Roy, oh, sick. I haven't had a chance to look at any properties in Delaware, but I've heard great things about Newark in particular. There you go. All-nighter hider. I don't have a ton of experience yet with LEDs. Yeah, they can be glitchy. That's true. My REI attorney gave out an eviction script to use at hearings at our local REI group. Okay. That's all right. I mean, if that's the script that they gave, sure, that's good. The only challenge that you have is that if you come across as a professional to the judge, she's going to hold you to a higher standard. It's the only thing you got to worry about. Larry Bird, do you ever let tenants do their own repairs on your properties? No, not really. Nope. Because if they are tradesmen, yes. If they are not tradesmen, no. All-nighter hider. Asset manager could be a landlord or a hedge fund manager. I want to be in that class of people. Precisely. JLD system, Larry, depends. We have one tenant who is great care of his townhome and has picked vendor and paid for new flooring, paid paint and a stove. He asks about these little improvements every year or two. Yep. Yeah. Largely, I don't let them do them themselves. If they're hiring it out to a crew, again, now I'm subject to what if that crew does a bad job? So what I always like to understand is if that's something that they want done, You can say, tell you what, you can get a quote yourself, and then I'm going to have my guys quote it. And if they're a better price, I know the quality of work that they do. So you win. If you found a better price, I just need to know that they're going to do a good quality job. And if not, then you're going to return it back to its original state. Nitin, I had to ask myself how deep into the local REIC I am. To be honest, I'm very shallow. That question may help you. Yes, guys, you got to get deep in your locals. Real estate's hyper local. As much information as I have, mine's more general about generally markets, but also generally how you maintain and become an elite asset manager and how you become an elite owner operator. It's never going to be, I'm an expert in San Diego and here's how you do, here's California, San Diego law, or here's the neighborhood, blah, blah, blah. Can't help you there. Yep. I would say, yeah, exactly. You can plug it into another circuit and that way you can tell. Because if you plug into another circuit, the issue is a lot of times those circuits are on the same circuit in that room. The only one that might be on a different circuit is it might be a GFCI if it's only loaded itself. Santi, to help tenants, I think a bond or some type of insurance instead. No, I don't think so. If you can't come up with the deposit to move in, I don't want you there. And I want it to be your money every single month. I want it to be your money that you're paying. And I want you to have that hanging over your head, not some fee where they could easily split. And then you have to sue them to get them to pay their damages. Or even the service. If you think that the service is going to easily pay you, there's no way. They're just like every other insurance out there. They're going to be looking at every reason to get off and not pay you. Nitin, I understand I would have a tough time investing in those counties as well. Exactly. See, guys, that's why I want you connecting. Feel free to send me a message over Lumberjack Landlord Network. Yes, absolutely. Lars, you can feel free to drop your info there. 41 watching, a thumbs up would be nice for the host. I really appreciate that, Sandy. Thank you very much. Key, when using different outlet, problem is solved, but I need to cook water in a toilet. Yeah, my guess is it's probably a load issue, but that can easily be addressed. Yep, they could figure out a way to address that load issue. Cadilla 14, when would you do a notice to quit and start an eviction proceedings for a Section 8 tenant who is 10 days late but pays very little? E.g., I would start at the same time. They're not special. They have to play by the same rules as everybody else. If it's not paid, I post. That's simple. Aculus. Yes. And Raj, we'll do Lars. Plan on joining Course Network soon. Nitin, love to have you. Robert Farinelli. So how would you do a background check if someone applied in door loop? I can't afford a bad tenant. Totally get it. And we have them apply in door loop. But again, from our perspective, it really we'll go outside of door loop. We can go outside of door loop and we can have them pay it outside of door loop. They have to enter in all the same information, but that application that they do in door loop means that I just got them to enter all of their data into the system. I have no data entry. Then if they pass that preliminary, then I send them, if I needed to, I would send them and say, hey, go do your background check over here, blah, blah, blah. That's usually what I do. Yep. Key. Yes, Hyder. The circuit that kettle is on is a 20 amp, 12 gauge, but split poles. Oh, very interesting. Okay. Well, guys, it's 10:30 exactly on the dot. It was a long night last night, 2.5 hours. We had an absolute blast. I had an absolute blast with you guys here tonight, as I always do. So I'll be giving you guys an update on the 64 days on market. We'll see if I'm right over the next few weeks, few months. We'll see how that happens. NTN is a one-stop shop for application, credit check, and background check. Thank you very much, Diane, for that resource. Guys, go check it out. And if there is, where did you hear from this? Make sure you take Diane's name down. Yep, Diane von Lift. Or Liefte. I don't know if I got that right. Eddie, thanks for the golden nuggets. You're welcome. Christopher saying, guys, have an absolutely, look up. Hey, how are you? Good to see you. Look up. Guys, have an absolutely fantastic week. I'm going to do a video for you guys again in the next couple of days at the project house. And we'll update the budget as well and show you guys exactly what we're looking at. But yeah, we're still ahead of budget. We're still kicking ass. Actually, inspections tomorrow. I can't record you with the code inspector. I might be able to. No, I can't. No, I won't be able to get away with that. But I'm going to do it with a code enforcement officer tomorrow. We'll do a walkthrough. We'll see if there's anything he doesn't like. But I'll show you guys the dormer complete. The windows are in. The roof is done. The back roof is done. The siding is there tomorrow, and they should be doing siding early part of next week. They'll be doing, and that's on the garage. So we'll get the siding knocked out. And so, yeah, we're in pretty good shape. Ben Fopel, the house hack is a great fit for our family, and I don't see us moving out due to the great family fit. We are still open to it since we wouldn't house hack. Very cool. Awesome. We would need to pay way more capital for the next deal, which means way more time until the next deal. What would you advise for us to not slow to a halt? So that's the decision that you always have to make. Yeah. So it wasn't a great fit for me to keep on moving. I didn't like it. I hated moving. It was a pain in the ass. There were some places that were better than others. All of those things. What it really comes down to is how badly do you want that financial freedom? That's really what it comes down to. You know, for me, I wanted it so badly that I was willing to live in any place for 12 months. I was like, you know what? It's 12 months. It's going to be an adventure. We're going to do this for 12 months. And it might seem like it's unsettling, but here's what I can tell you. 5 years from then, and you've done 3 or 4 of those moves, you now have as many assets as you need to retire. And if you really miss the place that much, you move back into it. So there's no magic tricks of how to get there faster. It's really much more about you make the move because you can get the 3.5% debt. That's what makes the ball continue to roll, is you get the 3.5% down payment stuff. Or if you're buying in a quad or a tri, the way to speed up your process is be moving into a quad, not a dupe. Those are the best ways to do it, but there's no shortcuts, Ben. And I know that you know that. And you know, I'm not saying you're not hardworking, that you're not being thoughtful, but that's the sacrifice. I made the sacrifice 9 times in 13 years. I made the sacrifice. Well worth it. Wouldn't change a thing. In fact, the only thing that I would change, I would have done more of them. But my wife, I made an agreement with my wife that when we had the first baby, or when she was going to have the first baby, I said, well, I'll look for a house and I'll redo a house. But if it were up to me, I'd still be house hacking. I would just be looking for a big duplex because or something where I can get a big house and have an ADU in the back. That's honestly what I'd be looking for. So yeah, that's the decision you have to make. And that's really the tough one. Richard McGuff, amazing material. Big hug, my friends. Absolutely. Love the community we have here, guys. Appreciate all y'all. Have a fantastic week. We'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, everybody.